Hey, so welcome to my BMGT289A vlog, and I'll be discussing a couple things like my future plans, my personal experiences and how I view things, and also just like a couple things about me in general, about my general life. Okay, so I told you what my goal is. Number one is financial freedom. But how do I achieve that? That's not something you can just do or accomplish overnight. That's something you have to actively work towards and grind. So right out of college, I am expecting to just basically go into some sort of office job or any job of the matter. In fact, anything that will pay relatively well, because I will need funding and liquid capital to push towards whatever I am building. For instance, building passive income requires time, energy, or money, or all three. And honestly, these days it does need all three. So it definitely will be something I will be actively building up on the side as I am working. So when it comes to building that passive income, I do have a couple ways I could go about that. Number one is definitely some sort of e-shop or e-commerce. I would have to find a specific niche or group that I could market towards that hasn't really been marketed towards or sold items too much, and I'll pretty much have to put resources into, the server funding, the domain name, actual like shipping and processing, all that I will have to take care of at the start. But eventually, once things do build up, if it goes to plan in an e-commerce shop, I could eventually automate all that and just have it running all the time without my attention. So hopefully I'll be able to make money while I'm sleeping off a potential shop. Okay, so what about number two? Number two would pretty much involve investment. This wouldn't be something that would be as active or more of something that would take the back seat. Investing in stocks is a really great way to not only let your money work for you. Sure, do invest, do think about your future, but a lot of people don't really pay attention to the dividends that stocks pay off at the end of each respective quarter. So a dividend would basically be just earnings from the company that's going out to its shareholders, and depending on which stock you hold, that can vary with frequency to how many times you get a dividend throughout the year and how much you get from it. A lot of people do have to own large quantities to really make any serious money off dividends, but that is also just one other way towards building passive income. Now, this third way of generating passive income would be my ideal way to do it, just because it has been something that has been around since the dawn of humanity, and that's just the house business, real estate. That's just always something that can be consistent regardless of what time period you're in or how the economy is doing. People always need somewhere to live, and if you can provide that, for instance, I could purchase a apartment complex some years down the line and rent it out. And the reason why I really like that idea to produce passive income is because the money you make from renting out, specifically like the rent you get, isn't taxable. So that's like a really great way to just generate a large amount of money from a large investment. But to get to that point, it will take a lot of hard work and dedication. I will need a lot of capital to even think about purchasing a apartment complex, even with a mortgage. But yeah, that's the goal. Besides that, I would probably start off with like smaller properties, and real estate is definitely a big thing I would want to get into in terms of generating passive income and achieving financial freedom. Okay, so say I achieve my goal of financial freedom and finally able to do what I want to do, like what I actually feel passionate about. So what will I do? Well, one thing I know for sure I will be working towards is opening some kind of animal reserve for exotic and endangered animals. There are a lot of animals out there, unfortunately, that are being kicked out of their homes, and just their populations are really dwindling due to human impact. And I think a lot of that can really be mitigated with a little resources and effort and attention towards it. And basically, building a nature reserve is something that would take a lot of resources, and going the nonprofit route wouldn't be ideal because from what I've learned in this class so far in BMGT289A is that when you fall towards a nonprofit, you do have to rely more heavily on backers and people who want to donate basically, and that's not really something that can be consistent all the time, so a lot of them do take the back burner sometimes, and I don't want to go that way with my nature reserve. I want to kind of fall more towards the for-profit region on the spectrum of nonprofit to for-profit, just because that will be something more efficient for what I have in mind. Because honestly, a lot of the things in a nature reserve, like just like the environments themselves, setting up all the feeders and all the cleaning systems and just getting experts who know how to handle it at a very quality level can be quite costly, and going the for-profit route and creating somewhat of a brand name can be really helpful towards achieving that goal. Okay, so I've told you some things I want to do and how I want to go about them business-wise. But what about me? Who am I? Who is Mohammed Al Baroudi? So I'm just a kid. I grew up in Nebraska, Lincoln, Nebraska. It was pretty much all corn, as you would imagine. But from a young age, I did move abroad to a country called Oman, and a lot of people don't know where that is. It's actually located south of Dubai, to the west of India, and to the east of Africa. So it's kind of like in the crossroads of a bunch of areas. And I think growing up in that environment really helped instill me with a global mindset. Just growing up, I had friends from Indonesia, Lebanon, Thailand, Sudan, shout out Sudan. I have friends from America, I had friends from Australia. I just had friends from all over the world that, just came together, and it really taught me, we're all just people. There's ways to do things no matter where you are. Where there's a will, there's a way. So at my school, we used to have this school-wide festival every year, and we'd bring some people from outside to run their own booths, but for the most part we had student-run booths, and it was up to like individual groups in each class to find out what they want to do. And so me and my buddy, being like big computer guys and big gamers, we of course immediately have this thought to rent out our computer laboratory. And this was in 7th grade, okay, so this wasn't like something that was really well prepared beforehand. But fortunately we had a really nice computer lab teacher who did allow us to use it for the purposes of the school festival. And what we did was basically we had to go through each computer, like 30 plus computers in the lab, and we had to pretty much see what their specs were, and then from there we went ahead and found some games, like that we could put on each one that we had available, had a USB drive or whatnot, and we had to go through and install all that and make sure everything was up and running. We had to get like a server and then plug it all in and then figure out all the software stuff. I honestly don't know how we did it, but I'm really glad we did. For 7th graders, it was a pretty nifty thing to do. And so we basically set up a big LAN party, and we had people coming in and out all the time, like during the festival itself. We charged by the hour, and so some people would just stay there for hours and just playing games, and we made that bank, what can I say. But yeah, it turns out, after we tallied up our counts for each booth, we came out on top, and that's just something that's always been in the back of my mind, like, wow, you can like put a little bit of hard work into something like tiny, from many different ways, and really just tie it together into a nice package, and then let that package work for you. Honestly, that hard work was worth the amount we made. We made, like, in dollars, it would be around $350, and for one day's work for two 7th graders, I believe that's a pretty darn good job, if I do say so myself. And so that's really been a big inspiration to me. And just living in that area near the beach has always given me like some kind of like calm demeanor. So I honestly think this reflects in a lot of the things I enjoy doing. I enjoy longboarding, just long cruises, whether that's alone or with people. I just love jamming out and doing whatever. I really like swimming, especially just like swimming underwater. That's one of the most calming things I've ever experienced and continue to experience. And I just really love that kind of meditative state it puts you in. I do meditate a little bit also, but it's not something I do every day. But I definitely love it just to clear out the thoughts in my head. And I don't mean to boast when I say having a quality like that, I think is really crucial when it comes towards building business. Just having clear thoughts and not really jumping towards all the possibilities at once. You definitely taught me that you've got to have clear and defined numbers and ways you want to go about doing things, and you can't really always live in the brainstorming state forever. You have to move into reality, and I think that's definitely something I've been going towards and considering. And when it comes to creating social impact, I think that's really something you have to emphasize, that you've got to actually deal with the reality of things you want to change. You can't always just daydream. And hopefully in the future, when I do decide to go through with my animal reserve project, I will have thoroughly planned it out and found great partners or experts to help me along the way. A lot of the things that are in business, unfortunately, are just like hard work and tiresome and grueling. A lot of people think it's all flowers and butterflies running a business, but it's really not, because you're your own boss. That does have upsides, but that also does make you very accountable, because there's no one else to tell you to get up and do your job. That's just you. It's all on you. But yeah, to summarize, I'm just a regular guy like everyone else. I want to be free. I don't want to be stuck in the same place forever. But I have come to terms that for the first couple years after college, of course, I will have to get some sort of job to get some kind of income in order to fund my other ventures. And I really want to just get the ball rolling on passive income as I have my day job, to the point where that passive income becomes equivalent to how much I make from my day job. I think that would be the minimum amount for me to start even considering quitting my day job and moving full-time to whatever business I choose to go through with. And that may involve e-commerce, it may involve trading stocks, day trading. Although that is something very risky, I think dividends would probably be a good move. And of course the end goal would be real estate, because that's just a surefire way to generate income and pay off mortgages at the same time. And eventually, once I have achieved financial freedom, I want to work towards my passion project of creating a nature reserve for exotic animals that are endangered. And hopefully one day I'll have nature reserves throughout the world, throughout the planet, in different climates that will be able to care for different kinds of animals. But yeah, thank you so much for listening to my story and my plans for the future. And it's been a wonderful business class.